Hi everybody, Keith here, Mark's behind the camera, and today we're doing some watercolors for our summer art series. Today we are going to do maple leaves, a cascade of maple leaves, and yes, we're going to do them in fall colors. So, to begin with, I recommend you get watercolor paper instead of just plain old paper. If you can get some, it's awesome. It's rag, 100% cotton rag. It'll say it on the label. Most of Strathmore, no. But if you go to the art stores, or if you look on Amazon or Dick Blick, you'll find reasonable cost. I think Artiza has a pad of the rag cotton. It's out there, so it's better. It works better. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So watercolors, you work from light to dark. So I'm going to begin by choosing my lightest color on my fall colors, and that is yellow. Don't get any lighter than that. So what you want to do is wet the paper. See, I put a little bit of yellow in my water so that you can hopefully maybe see what I'm doing. But you do want to get it wet first. Now, if you don't think you can get a whole leaf done, just keep going back and hitting it with a little bit more water, okay? And if you can't, then just do half a leaf or whatever you're comfortable with. You want to find a place like on a seam, or what are they? They're not seams, what are they?
Oh, they're not a skeleton, but it's essentially the structure of the leaf. Right?
Yeah, stem. Dang it.
Well, the stem is outside.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it inside the leaf itself.
I know there's a word for it. If we were in school right now...
Somebody leave it in the comments below to tell us that you're smarter than we are.
Yeah. At this point, during the coronavirus fun, I am no longer smart at all.
I could look it up too.
It's something super simple too, and it's blank. I got nothing. Alright, so I've wet up one leaf, okay? And what we're going to be doing today to make this kind of fun and a little bit interesting, hopefully, is we're going to be dropping color into color to create our leaves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this yellow in and start our first coat or our first color.
The main part going up the middle of the leaf,
yes,
is the midrib.
Oh.
And the pieces that come off of that are just called veins.
Veins. Okay.
And I'm probably butchering it. What you've been referring to as the stem is technically called the petrole, P-E-T-I-O-L-E, petrole.
You're making that up.
I'm on the leaf version of WebMD.
Cool. All right, so I've got good coat of yellow on my first leaf here, pretty much. All right, I'll finish. If you notice my design, I don't just have leaves in the center of my picture. I have it actually a couple of the leaves going right off the page and a couple of the leaves overlapping. It makes it a little more interesting. I like the bit of a curve I put in there too. So we got the yellow in. Now we want it to suck in. We want the color to suck in a little bit, okay? We don't want huge puddles. But once it's in, you have a limited amount of time to play with dropping color into color, which is how long does it stay wet. So I'm going to drop my first color in, a very bright orange, I think. Hope it's bright.
Stupid question maybe, but can I do too much water on the paper at a time?
You sure can. What happens is you can't even get the paint to go into the onto the paper because it's oversaturated. It's got too much. The paint just sits in the brush because you can't get it to come out of the brush because there's basically you got a puddle or a lake.
Oh, less is more kind of mentality to start.
You need enough water to let this bleed. So what's happening is I'm dropping this color into the painting itself, and I'm letting the paint itself, create for me. So it's going to bleed and go this way and that. So I have one section that's really bad. I can see it's a lake. So what I'm going to do is I'll just take my brush. If you got a little too much water, just, dry your brush with a piece of paper and lift the color. Lift the water out. There. Now I can keep going. So as you can see, the orange is bleeding into the yellow now. And if it's real wet, it'll just keep bleeding. And the trick to this is not to put so much orange or other colors over top that you're basically just going to turn it into an orange leaf. We want the yellow to stay. We want it to show up. So, okay. It's we'll let that go. You can kind of pick it up. I don't know how that's working for you. Okay. You can kind of pick it up and you can move your paint around a little bit. A few bleeds here and there. So it's still wet. I can go ahead. I'm going to add another color. So let's go with red. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah. Kool-Aid. So again, it's just a matter of you want to have the color on the leaf, but we don't want so much that it just all blends into a big yellow-orange leaf. We want the color to break up a little bit. So look at these wonderful patterns that are occurring in here. This is what happens when you got the right ratio of water on the paper, and you're adding enough paint with enough water to get it to move. So if it doesn't move at all, it might mean that you're getting to the point where you just have to let it dry because you don't want blooms. Blooms occur when the paper is almost dry and you add more water to it. It just pushes all the color out of the way. That's a bloom. So we're avoiding that by keeping this image wet. And if it gets to the point where it's too dry, just let it dry completely, because then you can re-wet it. After it's dry completely, re-wet it and go again. That's the beauty of a good watercolor paper, of rag cotton watercolor paper. It doesn't, you can add layer after layer after layer. So, and that's a different technique. This is more of almost like a pour. You're dropping color into a wet surface, another color. So I like this. This is really fun. I'm going to see if I can add maybe a little bit of a contrasty violet. You're just making up words now. I just want to add a little violet to the yellow and see if I can get maybe just a little bit of a brown or some kind of not quite, yeah, it's not very pretty. I say I'm not going to do that. So why don't we just grab another color, a pinky purple. Yeah, pinky purple, that's it. Get some shadow. Ooh, the violet. This violet seems to be working okay. All right. Yeah. And then from the violet, this is actually magenta, but it's with the yellow is almost kind of turning into a purple. Now, I don't know if you can see this. I believe you can, but you'll notice that I'll use, while it's still wet, I'll run a little bit of color down some of the veins while it's wet so that it'll bleed out. It gives it a nice little feel here. All right, I like that guy. We're going to let that one set up. We're going to go to another one real quick. I'm going to go right to the one, oh, I just blopped a big thing of water.
Can't take you anywhere.
You know, it was perfect. It'll never be the same. Because now it's starting to try to...
Lesson over. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you go to rkmcguire.com, subscribe to the channel. We'll try not to screw up next time.
Watch him screw up next time? Is that...
Funny how you hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, it's not what I wanted to hear. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start my next leaf. And this time, my yellow is going to be even a little bit lighter than the other yellow. We'll see. But remember, we want to wet it, kind of wet it first. We don't want to start directly applying paint. So what I'm doing here is just kind of spreading out what I did. And I have a little bit of color in my paint so you can kind of, or in my water so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm obviously wetting. I'm not going to add too much more color until I got the whole thing wet. Now, a lot of times people get a little heavy-handed with this technique. The idea is to drop in a little paint at a time and watch it kind of move around and bleed. If you get too much paint, it'll just all kind of fill in, and then you just have a leaf that's one color. Boring. All right. So I've almost got this leaf wetted down or wetted up, or I'm sure there's a technical term in there somewhere. Okay, finally. So if I didn't put all those little sharp edges and little, to me it wouldn't be a maple leaf though. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add my yellow now.
We're going to have to pause.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Right back.
We will.
Stop painting. Stop painting.
Okay. All right. So I'm applying yellow to the second leaf now. If you'll notice too, sometimes I don't it's not all an even weight. Sometimes I like to leave a little bit of lighter stuff here and there, so a little less paint. And what that does is kind of gives a little bit of unevenness to the leaf itself. All right. So now on this leaf, to create a little contrast to the last leaf, we're going to add green, yellow green at first, and I'll add some darker greens as we go. But I want it to feel like it is changing, but it hasn't gotten that far. Again, half the fun of this is picking it up and just walking it around. The only thing you got to be careful of is big dribble. So again, you just empty your brush and dab it dry on a paper towel and pick up some of that excess water. All right, so I've got some of the yellow green in now. Now I'm going to go with a little different yellow green. A wee bit stronger. Gonna add a little, there we go. And again, if it gets too dry, you just stop, let it dry. And then you can always wet it and go back in again. But see how I don't cover every area. In fact, I just do little spots and let it kind of bleed itself around. Half the fun with watercolors is letting it do some of the work for you. I call them happy accidents. I'm also taking that darker green, running it down some of the ribs. Or all right, cool. Now on this one, I'm going to add just a touch of brown. I kind of like imperfections because I am one. So I like to kind of kill off little chunks of the leaf here and there. Stuff that got kind of burned in the sun, maybe. You just add a little bit of that. A little bit of brown here and there. Also, do you notice the what did you call that thing? The stem? The patella.
Sure, the one word that was hard to remember.
Yeah, the patella.
Patella. Is this something?
That's your kneecap. Close enough. All right, so you want them thin. I watch people do these wonderful, wonderful leaves. Then they put a stem on them so thick, could pull a Chevy with it. All right, cool. Now, what's kind of fun to do too for making imperfections is I'm going to take and I'm going to sprinkle just a wee bit of salt on this leaf. Now you don't want to put too much because we don't want it to be too weird. So this is a sea salt. What'll happen? Well, you'll watch. It's gonna be fun. There. So you don't want to use plain old house salt. It's too refined. You want like the chunks to be very varied inside. That's why I like grinders. That's all I get for Christmas presents now. All kinds of salt grinders, which I do appreciate. All right, so this one has a little bit of salt on it. This one, remember how bright and shiny it was? Look how it has faded down. Watercolors dry 40% lighter than when they are on, when they're first applied. So you might think about that as you're doing your work. You might want to make it a wee bit stronger starting out. So this time my lightest color on this one is going to be kind of a yellow green. And again, I am applying a little bit of the color to it before, as I'm adding the water. And that's just so you guys can see what I'm doing. But it's the same technique. You work from your lightest color to your darkest. We want enough water that when we drop our next color in, it'll be able to move. Ooh, check this out. See that? And that's why I like salt. Gives it a wonderful imperfection. I love imperfection. All right, here we go. So we're going to add a little bit of yellow, very strong yellow, into that lighter green yellow that we did. All right. That's on there pretty thick. All right. So now I'm going to add a little more of that magenta again. I kind of like the purpley color that it ended up being. Did I say beans? All right. The other thing I'll say is kind of stick to the same, like 4 or 5 colors. You don't want 50 different colors. It actually starts distracting from the eye. All right. I'm going to add a little brown to this one because this one's been burned up a little. Adding a little water to paint will also push things around. No! I have a drop on the paper. If the color does not come out... Oh, it did. I don't have to paint a ladybug now. All right. I think we'll scooch a little salt on this one. Ooh, that was a lot. You know, you don't want to do too much, or the spots will all run together and it'll look very crusty. Yeah, crusty. All right. So remember what I said about how this got duller? I am actually thinking I'm going to re-wet it now that it's dry. I'm going to add just a little more color to it. See if I can maybe bring it up a little bit, a little more vibrancy to the image. I do like it. It is kind of pretty, but it's also kind of meh. So let's see if we can kick it up a little. Bam! All right. But you notice the colors down beneath, they are not changing because they are wet. That's what I was saying. By letting it dry, that's basically what sets the color. Now, if I really scrubbed on it, yeah, some of it would come up. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're just applying some more color over top. Okay. Sorry if my head got in the way.
Always.
I know. Cut your hair. All right. There, I think that helped a little bit. All right, now here's it. We're going to try a little salt on this, but there's no guarantees. Usually you want to do it on the first coat, but we didn't get to it, so we're going to try it on the second coat, see if we can get something to happen. See up here, it's looking good. Our beautiful maple tree had some horrible disease. Well, that's not nice. So I use very good paper. I use Arches cold press. It's a 140 weight. And the reason I like it is it's for professionals, but because it can take such abuse and scrubbing and all kinds of things. It's great for beginners because you can really, if you make a mistake, you can kind of scrub it up. It's just an amazing tough paper. And my uncle owns the Arches factory over in France. Yeah, that's the ticket. Uncle Archie, right?
Goes by Archibald when he's working though.
Yeah, okay. Well, the truth's out now. Everybody knows now.
I thought you used 300.
I do actually. Honestly, I love the 300 for real coarse, big paintings with texture. See, you got me all excited now. He's starting to spit. All right, good thing the camera is above my head.
We love seeing that part. Make you start combing it backwards.
Okay, here we go. Now, try that red again. Now, complementary colors. Red and green make
Brown.
brown or blah, which is perfect when you're trying to create dead stuff. So by using the red over top of the green, I've kind of created a grayed out version. I get a better feeling of dead stuff. How's that sound? God, I got to get out more often. When's this virus over?
And then who you ask?
I hear that.
My studio is a virus-free zone for now.
It is. I don't know why I have to be in a plastic bag whenever I'm not on camera. It seems rude, but
I'm gonna get one of those.
boy in the bubble.
What they call those emergency doors in your basement. Yeah.
Oh, that you can flush me right out.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
No longer are you allowed in the normal entrance or exit.
All right. So it is working a little bit. The salt won't be quite as effective as on the stuff that I did not, that I, didn't put a second coat on. As you can see, the green and red down in this corner has made some interesting brownish, nasty dead leaf texture. And a little bit more again. And I really do enjoy doing these things. Whenever I get a beginner student, it's a great way to show how you work from light to dark, how much water it takes to make things flow without just burying it in the second color. So I'll say this again, be careful when you're applying the second coat or the third color, or the third color, that you don't use too much and fill up the entire image. Now there's things I can do. I can do a background. Sometimes when I do stuff like this, what I like to do is not really, I don't really want to paint the whole background. I find that too busy, too much. But what I was thinking though is maybe Dr. Jones. Nope, I don't like that color either. I'm deciding. There, that's kind of pretty. Maybe I'll just go with this kind of, it's a pretty sky blue. But what I don't want to do is, I don't want to fill in the whole thing. What I want to do is kind of bleed the color in around the image itself. Now I'm working on dry paper to do this, and you got to work fairly quickly because it's drying as you work. But if you notice, I'm not trying to hit everything. I want to leave some air. I want to leave white. So I'm just kind of going around and applying it willy-nilly. No, I'm applying it carefully around my leaves. And as you can see, I don't want it completely filled in. I don't want it to look like a shadow either. I just want it to look like color. And just run it right off the page, just like the leaves are. And if a little color bleeds in here or there, so what? Unless it's really ugly, then I didn't say anything. All right, yeah. Okay, I'm going to call that done. The one thing I think that is very important is make sure you let the paint dry between layers if you're going to add on or add more. Not too much salt, you'll be surprised. It doesn't take a lot. So if it's easier for you to just pinch it and grind, drop it, I would do that. I guarantee that anybody would love this. Anybody. Any mom. Okay, so I'm pushing. Anyway, that's it for this week. Mr. Mark, are you still here?
What? Oh, sorry, I was sleeping.
Yeah, I knew it. I had to watch him paint every week.
This is the 9th time we've done this video. You should see the first bloopers from the first 3.
Oh, he's actually replaced me 3 times now.
You should see the first Keith I had.
He was terrible. Anyway, so anything I need to know or anything anybody else needs to know?
They need to go to rkmcguire.com and check out the prints you have for sale, the other videos we've done, the endless supply of
supplies
stuff that we try to update. Probably not as often as we could, but we're trying.
Yeah.
Check out the Facebook page, and of course subscribe and like this video so you see future ones. Links to everything will be in the description.
And thank you, everybody. We will see you next time. Take care.
Yes,
Bye.
sir.